Okay, so a new concept not related to mutate. So this data set iris, as you can see, it's printed out everything, so that's a hint that it is actually a data frame. So we actually want to convert it to a tibble, and it just prints it out a bit nicer, okay, as a start. We want to get this into tidy format. Now at the moment there's information in the headers. So generally tidy format is 1 row per observation and no information in the headers. If there's information about the observations, put them into columns, okay? And probably this will become a bit clearer as I go through this process. The first thing, so these are individual flowers, so we do have that 1 row per observation thing. So this is a flower with 5.1 sepal length. Sepal width is that, petal and petal. So sepals and petals, who knows what they are? We know what a petal is. I don't know what a sepal is. Okay, but the information is sort of distributed in a funny way that is easy for us to read, but not necessarily to process. Okay, so the key concept I want to show you now is something called gather. So we want to make each bit of information be a value, and then we want these columns to be sort of in the data column. Okay, this will make it sense. Okay, so gather, always do it this way: key, value, and then what columns do we want to gather? So there's a few ways to do this, but the easiest way is to say everything except for species. Okay, so that's what we wanted to do. Okay, the other way we could have done it as well is just gone 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to pivot the first 4. That's going to be the same thing, or not the 5th column. Or we could have said we could have listed out all those columns, or just gone sepal length all the way to petal width. Okay, same effect. One other thing we could have done as well is we could have used this contains function and dot. I wonder if that's going to work. It did. So if any of those columns contains a dot, which those ones do, then pivot those. Or does not contain a dot. Okay. Oh. No, that didn't work. All right. So there you go. You've got the picture of what I wanted to do, and also a bit of a overview of column selection techniques. Okay. So what do we want to do? So at the moment, the part of the flower and the measurement type is in the one column, which is key, which the column is called key. So I want to split that. So I could do the mutate, but there's also a function called separate. So we want to separate the column key, and we want to separate it into 2 different columns, into, and then we want to label the 2 columns we're going to make. And we're lucky in this case that we only need 2, and that every row is going to have those values for those 2 columns. So here we go. So we can go flower part, and we can also go measurement type. Double click and then like that. All right, and we can actually run it like that. Generally though, you would want to specify the separation. So the sep in this case, if we put dot, that's actually not the correct thing to put, because inside this quotation marks it's looking for something called regex, and dot means everything or anything. So we're going to have to backslash it to say, hey, this is not regex, this is not the regex symbol for anything, this is actually a dot, a full stop. I think the other way to do it is to do this fixed. No, that's not it. It must be some other way. All right. Separate fixed. Is it an argument? No. Okay, so we'll leave it like that. Okay, so that is great. There's one extra thing we want to do. So we want the length and width to be this is generally tidy data, but we want the lengths to be up here and the widths to be up here. So we want to turn this column, the levels of this column, into separate columns. So it's actually interesting that we cannot just do this. So the opposite of gather is spread. Okay, so we want to spread the values of measurement length, and then underneath it we want value. So maybe I've measurement type, sorry. So there is a problem here. So each row of output must be identified by a unique combination of keys. Okay, the reason why this isn't working is because for these first two, let's say, if I shift this column out, there's nothing to differentiate these two rows from each other besides the value. So it's going to be setosa, sepal, and then one column is length and one column is width, but it doesn't know what to do with multiple values. Sometimes you can specify for it to sum the values or average the values, but in this case here, these are actually separate flowers. Well, actually no, they're not, because each row here is this is the length measurement, and then we've also for a sepal, but we'd have a width measurement for a sepal as well. Okay, so what we need to do is go back to here, actually to here, and we need to make a unique identifier. So mutate, let's say flower ID equals row number. So if we take a look at that, so now each flower has a unique ID. But now our gather is not working 100% correctly because we've got this new column. So we need to add that as a column that we're excluding from the gather. So that's I forgot to do that. I forgot one of those pipes. There we are. So that's working. The separate is also working. And now, if I spread this measurement length, because of the flower ID, I think it will be happy. Yeah. So there we go. So that's spreading. So gathering and spreading, pivoting and unpivoting, two very crucial concepts to understand. I'll just also cover quickly, just ordering the columns in the right order. So flower ID, I want to be the first column, and then everything else I want to follow. So yeah, so that's everything is taking every single column, but it's specifying that flower ID, so it's not going to have the same column twice. So that's one way of ordering columns the way you want them to order. Cool. Gathering and pivoting, key concepts. That's it. That's the end of this video.